Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the South Derbyshire series, a district of Derbyshire which stretches from Leicestershire to Staffordshire, containing 50 civil parishes. Here's one of them for you. Welcome back to South Derbyshire, everybody. Now, I knew as soon as I got here this morning that this one was going to be a good one because it is beautiful. Within the first few seconds of me pulling into the village, I was met with a sea of, well, loveliness. Look at this green for a start. Look at this. You probably can't see the flowers from here, but trust me, I can. We'll get up a little bit more close and personal with those very shortly. Welcome to a village that I don't know whether this is Coton or Coton. It's one or the other. Whatever it is, it's in the Elms. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Here we go again in South Derbyshire, and this time we're taking on a village which has a claim to fame. Welcome to Coton or Coton in the Elms. I'm not totally sure which way the locals say it, but this is the village defined as the furthest away from the English coast. In fact, Church Flats Farm, which is less than a mile south of the main village, is defined by Ordnance Survey as the furthest point from the sea anywhere in Great Britain. Fosdyke Wash in Lincolnshire, White Sands between Neston in Cheshire and Flint in Flintshire, and Westbury-on-Severn in Gloucestershire are all 113 kilometres or 70 miles away. This claim is of course a bit dubious depending on how you define both the coastline and the existence of tidal rivers, but one thing's for sure, you're not going to need your deck chairs or your speedos in this one. Coton's history is well recorded. It can trace its roots back to the time of Doomsday, where its name was given as Cote. It stands on an ancient salt route known as the Walton Way, which begins in nearby Walton-on-Trent. Industrially, mining and farming were important here, but now the mines have all closed and it's become a commuter village. Coton is also the hottest place in Derbyshire. Literally, 3 times the village has recorded the highest ever temperature set in the county, and it currently holds the record of 38.9 degrees. I'd better get my sun cream on then. Let's go. We start our trip around Coton in the Elms at a small green on Mill Street, covered with beautiful flowers. The green is maintained by Coton in Bloom, and it even has its own little arched entrance, like a church's lit gate. The rowan trees on the green are actually war memorials. There are 6 of them, accompanied by a commemorative tablet. There were 6 soldiers from Coton who died in World War I, and there's 1 tree for each man. They were planted in 2015. There's an ornate little clock here too. I'm not sure what relevance this bears, but I thought it to be quite appealing. Note the building on the right at the end of Mill Street. That's Manor Farmhouse, one of only 3 listed buildings in Coton. Also at the end of Mill Street is a bus shelter. This is where the number 22 between Burton and Swadlincote stops. Now we're moving away from the green, and here we cross Pestle Brook, which we'll see again later around this route. This is Church Street, and it's a shallow hill which runs in a northwesterly direction up to the Church of St Mary at the top. So this is the aptly named Church Street, and you can see the church quite clearly just there with its very tall spire. That's not the next landmark though, because before we reach that, we're going to turn left and explore another part of Coton in the Elms. This house is Coton's former post office, which has long since closed. It does though retain its old postbox. Opposite, there's a small industrial area featuring Leonard Hodson Walker, a structural steel company. Church Street is otherwise residential now, with some pretty attractive houses, like this one here for example. Up the side of it, there's a small track which runs to Coton's recreation ground, neatly tucked away beside Greenacre Park. This features a football pitch and a decent-sized playground. At the back of it, there's a footpath which leads to a field. We're going to follow this for a while, even though that wasn't my original plan. I was hoping, in vain, for a shortcut. Unfortunately, one never came, which meant following the path underneath the electricity pylons to where it joins a second one. So this is the only frustrating part about Coton in the Elms, as far as I can tell, is that I couldn't form a complete, well it is a complete loop, but I couldn't form a nice neat loop here, which was annoying. This path leads to another one, and it comes back basically adjacent to it. So if you imagine there's another path behind these trees here, this hedge here, right, it runs literally just a couple of yards to the other side of this. So where they meet, I'll be going back on myself and going back towards the village through a caravan park, and then that will take us towards the church. The second path passes through some paddocks where there were some friendly horses and ponies here to greet me. We then find ourselves in Greenacre Park, a collection of park homes off Church Street which are quite sought after. Now I don't know about you, but these are the kind of homes that make me think of caravan parks close to the coast. Maybe then, given as Coton is so far away from the coast, this is its way of having some sort of connection with the sea. As you exit Greenacre Park, there's a small shop, although it looks permanently closed. Back to Church Street then. The white building there is a former pub called the Shoulder of Mutton. It closed in 2010 and it's now a private house. A left turn towards the church now, and here's Church House, which occupies a plot directly opposite that tall spire. Okay, and we've reached the church with its massive tall spire, as we learned earlier. Here it is, look. It's clocked the wrong time. It's showing 12 o'clock. It's actually about 8:15 AM right now. So now we're going to head through the church. We'll talk about it on the way. There's a path at the back of it that will take us into another sort of little housing estate, and we'll continue on from there. The Church of St Mary was built between 1844 and 1847 by the Derby architect Henry Isaac Stevens, replacing an older one. It features a memorial to Russell Aston, a member of the Royal Military Police shot dead during protests near Basra in 2003. St Mary's does not stand on the site of the original church. Its predecessor was located behind the Shoulder of Mutton pub. It's generally believed that when the original church fell into disrepair, its bells were taken to neighbouring Lullington. That was so the inhabitants of Coton could still hear them, provided the wind was blowing in the right direction. The path I thought existed through the churchyard actually doesn't, so I had to walk round via a parish notice board on Elms Road. It's right next to the Coton in the Elms community centre, perfect for the likes of children's parties and meetings and whatnot. So if that path had have existed, I would have come out here via the community centre into this housing estate, but I suppose the good thing is I called a parish notice board, so I was able to do that job. So there we go. Let's continue through this housing estate, and eventually we're going to take a right turn as we head back down towards the southern part of the village. You might have noticed as well, it's just starting to spit with the rain, so hopefully I don't get too wet. Off Elms Road is Elmsley Avenue, a dead end which contains a primary school. Coton's former school is on Mill Street. According to this banner, it's an outstandingly happy school, or at least that's what it should say if it wasn't partially hanging down. We now find ourselves in the heart of Coton's residential area, a modern estate populated mainly by commuters. The main occupations of the village inhabitants in the past were mining and farming, but now all the local coal pits are closed. Work for much of the population now involves travelling to nearby Burton-on-Trent, Swadlincote or Tamworth. We're now on Burton Road, which forms the eastern side of the diamond-like shape Coton forms on the landscape. It's not long before Burton Road runs into a junction where it meets Chapel Street, a narrow lane unsuitable for HGVs. Here's the chapel. It was a Wesleyan effort built sometime before 1891. For a time, this was used as the village hall. Now normally when we see an old Wesleyan chapel, there's usually a school which is close by. Well, here there's something joined onto the chapel which I find very interesting. This little building just here, which is currently for sale, that is, according to that sign right there, the old band room. The old band room. I wonder what an old band room looks like on the inside. Well, if you're interested, you can always put in an offer on this property, I suppose. We've only got one more section of this route to do. Basically, all we've got to do is complete the circle, or the sort of square, if you like, around Coton in the Elms, by taking a right turn here, back onto the main road, and back towards the green where we started. Coton has two pubs that are still open. Here's the Bubble Inn, which reopened in 2015 after a decade as an Indian restaurant. It faces Mill Street, and here's where we'll encounter a cluster of Coton's most historic industrial buildings. Many make references to a former mill. On the left here is Mill Cottage, and on the right, the one for sale, is Mill House. Mill Street continues with some more modern housing towards Burton Road as we approach Pestle Brook once again. A cute little footbridge over the brook links the two streets together. Still to see on Burton Road is a pub and a former chapel. The chapel was built in 1922 to replace the older one in Chapel Street. This too is now closed and it's a private residence. Not far away is the second pub. Dating back to the 1800s, this is the Black Horse, which was refurbished in 2009. Between Mill Street and Burton Road there's a second green, parts of which seem to have been left as a wildflower meadow. Pestle Brook splits the green in half. It eventually drains into the River Meese, just west of Eddingale in Staffordshire. And lastly, here's New Road, which defines the other end of the War Memorial Green, where I began about an hour ago. Okay, so we've completed the circuit now of Coton or Coton in the Elms, whichever you prefer, and we're back to the green where we began. There's one thing I haven't yet talked about here in this village, and that would be a woodland, and I've saved that for today's special section, and that's coming at you right now. So we've seen Coton, so where are the elms? The answer is in Coton Wood. Located to the south of the village, Coton Wood covers a vast expanse of land off the road to Lullington. Planted in 1994 and 1995, the trees within it have thrived and the wood has proved popular with the locals. It boasts neatly trimmed hawthorn hedges and overgrown elm and blackthorn scrub where wildlife thrives, including small copper and skipper butterflies. You can follow a gentle 6-mile walk around the entire woodland, which takes in the attractive rolling landscape of the Meese lowlands. Along the way, there are historic lanes which lead to the remains of a former mineral railway and some evidence of medieval ridge and furrow at Top Wood. The wood also extends as far as the Meese and Sents column at Grangewood. Known as a noon column, sunlight passes through its vertical slit at true noon every day. And that's it for Coton or Coton in the Elms. That's 6 down in South Derbyshire now and 44 left. Next week I'll be taking you to a place that's not exactly village-like, but by the same token still has lots to talk about. Think food and drink, live music, and a lot of mud. I'll see you there next week. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.